He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either.
That comment by itself immediately is putting Zelensky on the defensive. Because even though Trump hedges that, hey, I understand why, but the other side, he goes whataboutism on him. He uses that whataboutism fallacy to, again, kind of cast aside Zelensky's pretty real reason for fucking hating Putin. Instead, Trump is using this moment to paint Zelensky as the one who's being unreasonable. But to whose goal? Trump's goal or Zelensky's goal for his country? Let's continue.
So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy.
This is very interesting that J.D. Vance popped in here, because at first he's just basically saying we need diplomacy and that Biden never did diplomacy. He's conveniently overlooking all of the diplomacy that took place before we really started arming Ukraine to fight back. He's kind of doing a too cool fallacy at this point. He's pointing at this guy, this person, trying to distract and focus on one guy. But this was also a bait, because Zelensky knows damn well that they've already done diplomacy. And I want to show you Zelensky finally getting to say something about all of this word salad.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But
he's confronting JD with facts about how diplomacy has worked so far during the Ukraine war. And what I love about this is that he shows how Vance is only focusing on Biden's time during Ukraine war, and he's ignoring the entire history that began back in 2014. And note, he gives praise to Trump for being in office, and he's giving Trump acknowledgement that he has the power to be of great influence in this situation. Zelensky is giving Trump a win here, okay? But of course, whoop, right over his fucking head. Let's continue. Also, you'll notice that Trump didn't even know when the fucking Ukraine conflict began either.
Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014 and
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
exactly.
I was not here. You notice that Trump is only listening for any possible fault being laid on him for the current circumstance or problems. His ears aren't on. His brain is not in negotiation mode. This is your tell sign anytime you're in any type of a conflict situation with a partner, a boss, like what we're seeing right here between two leaders of countries. When you have someone that immediately focuses on whether they have any blame in something or not in a negotiation, they're not there to negotiate. They are not there whatsoever. He's there to be in a position of power and be the tough guy, like immediately off the bat with that statement. Trump, turn your fucking ears on. But notice he's also, with Zelensky, he's laying out the facts. He's calm. You'll notice he's not finger pointing. All of his gestures are friendly. It's an open conversation at this point. You even see his arms aren't shut. They aren't crossed.
So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him. a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed with him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you have?
This is the first sign that this negotiation was going to break down, because Zelensky recognized Trump didn't have his ears on, and I think he knew that he was going to need to get ahead of this and get facts out as soon as he could, because he knew this was going to tailspin into a dressing down on some level. That these two men sitting there on public display were going to be doing a ground and pound to try and put him at a disadvantage at the negotiation table by trying to make him appear weak in the public light. And for those who don't know, this is what Zelensky is speaking on. There was a ceasefire agreement brought together by Angela Merkel, Zelensky, Putin, and I forget who else he just named, that there'd be a ceasefire, that they were going to exchange prisoners, and Putin broke it. So you can imagine Zelensky wants guarantees if we're going to do another ceasefire situation, because it didn't work the first time. And while I would agree that this normally should probably take place behind closed doors at the negotiation table, when Vance opened his big fucking mouth and started going on about diplomacy, it was setting Zelensky up to look unreasonable if he wouldn't accept diplomacy. So he had to make a public statement about why diplomacy, it needed to be more than just diplomacy. He needed specifics. Because again, J.D. Vance is only thinking about while Biden was in office, so not the previous history of what's actually fucking happened in this conflict. Be nice if we had a vice president who knew what the fuck was happening, and maybe a president that understood when all of this shit began, and the things that have already been tried and not worked as well. Because clearly, neither of these two jackasses have done their goddamn homework.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot just happened in this clip, and I'm going to try and break it down as quickly and efficiently as possible. Let's first start with the fact that J.D. Vance is accusing him of forcing conscripts to the front line. It's a fucking war. This is kind of a straw man argument. Further, J.D. Vance is not explaining to the American public, you're all probably thinking that Zelensky is like forcing 16, 17, and 18-year-olds to the front lines. The reality is that when they reduced the conscription age by 2 years, it went from 27 years of age to 25. At this point, you can also see that Zelensky has crossed his arms, and J.D. Vance is just going straight out accusing him of attacking the people trying to help him. Zelensky has never done that. He just confronted them with facts and asked for clarification. There was no attack here. There was literally no disrespect. And from here, it fucking falls apart.
Loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of
we
coming
are
out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thank.
There's not a TikTok thing long enough to cover all of the analysis of this, but shortly after this, then Vance accuses Zelensky of not being thankful, having not said thank you one time during this press conference. Zelensky's been saying thank you for 3 years or longer. I stand with Zelensky on this. Fuck Donald Trump and the minerals. Find another buyer.